Welcome to the Cloud Pod, where the forecast is always cloudy. We talk weekly about all things AWS, GCP, and Azure. We are your hosts,
Justin,
Jonathan,
Ryan,
and Peter.
Episode 171, recorded for the week of June 27th, 2022. AWS Snowcones in space. Good evening, Jonathan and Ryan. How's it going? Both of you doing well this evening?
Very good.
Great. I'd like to introduce you to our new co-host. His name is Peter. He comes to us from Foghorn, where he's a CTO and great partner of AWS. Peter, why don't you introduce yourself?
Nice to meet everyone. I know it's been a long time, but I'm back, baby.
Yeah, it's been a little bit, but things happened, and we kept going without you, and we let the rumor mill get active, and there was rumors that you were working on a secret robot project for Remars. There was that Oracle finally captured you and was holding you ransom to us for all the bad things we say about Oracle. There was all kinds of rumors, just rumors over rumors, and we just continued on down the path and did the best we could. So, but
so there was no rumor that I had the same agent as Debo Samuel and I was holding out.
There was none of that. Someone did mention to me you were holding out for more money. For hosting duties, and that was a good one too. But
I give him 10%.
Well, good to be back.
But, we missed you. There was lots of news. I couldn't tell you what anything happened because I've forgotten. But there was things that happened. Jonathan did not record a show while I was on vacation, which is he's 1 for 3. So.
Good job, Jonathan.
Yeah,
Yep.
good job.
There is a funny story behind that.
I'm proud of you.
There is a funny story behind that, which I'll share at some point.
Yeah.
And I still have the scar to...
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's good to have everyone back.
Yes.
Nice to see everyone's faces. None of our listeners can see your faces.
Yeah, it's been a
Hear
while.
your voices. Yeah, it's been a while since we've had everybody. So we're happy to have you all back. Well, the cloud did not sleep while you guys were all gone. So Terraform had their HashiConf EU event this week. And they made a few announcements that, I thought was kind of interesting. So first up, drift detection, which we talked about sort of in a past show, is coming to Terraform Cloud now in public beta. Drift detection continuously checks your infrastructure state to detect and notify you when it doesn't match, of course. This allows operators to have continuous visibility into the state of their multi-cloud infrastructure. Combining with the new Terraform Run tasks, which are capabilities that increase efficiency while reducing risk to security compliance and operational consistency, it regularly checks the drifts and shows you in the console the last time drift was run, the resources detected as being in a state of drift, and a visualization showing which attributes have changed. Once the drift is detected, you can then run a webhook, send an email, or a Slack message. Unless you're on Teams, then you get nothing. And remediation is, of course, the next step, and operators can resolve drift issues in the drift tab by accepting the changes with a refresh-only plan or by making changes to the new infrastructure state to get it back in place. I would like an option to just, fix it, but that isn't quite there yet. And, early days, so let work out the bugs before you get to automated remediation, I think is the right answer. So that's the first one from HashiConf EU this week.
That's pretty exciting. I mean, that is what I think a ton of people who hear about Terraform and hear about infrastructure as code, and they just expect that it does that. And then they find out after implementing that it doesn't. And it's always a shock. Like, well, what do you mean it doesn't just keep it that way? So this is super neat. And it'll be, you're always worried about the unintended consequences. So not doing automatic remediation is a wonderful first step. And it'll be great to see where this takes the whole product suite.
Yeah, I think it's the natural evolution for sure.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that this is what we've been waiting for a while. I thought when CloudFormation announced drift detection that they would do auto remediation, they would have all that, and it's sort of in the same boat. I think everyone's a little afraid to pull the trigger.
It'd be nice to kind of get to the root cause of why things changed as well, right? Look at the audit logs, look at CloudTrail, look at whatever you can, and find out why did this thing change? Was it a deliberate change? Was it an approved change? Like, should we roll it back? It's a risky thing to auto remediate something.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that they have this at all. I'm shocked. I mean, it took them how many years to get to Terraform 1.0 to at least now in any format, a public beta of Terraform Drift, I think is a testament. And when GA is, maybe they'll add remediation, which will be in about 6 years. So
yeah, that's okay. As long as it's as good as like the 12 Terraform versions before it went GA. I'll be fine with it.
I'm surprised it's taken so long because, I mean, the reality is if you run a plan and the plan doesn't require any changes, then there's been no drift. So what was the obstacle in delivering this as a feature sooner?
Well, I think the remediation piece, right? It's not auto remediation, but it's remediation, right?
Well, then you run the apply again. Like,
I mean, I think effectively that's all they're doing. It's just, it's just putting a UI and reporting on it, right?
Yeah. What I think they were waiting for was decent plan output, the structured plan output from Terraform plans, because previously it was just a shit show to try and read that as a human, let alone as a computer.
Although I found the best circular reference with that plan feature. I found a great circular reference. It worked.
Well, when that comes around again, you can tell us all about it.
Yeah.
Never again. Never again.
I was intrigued by the idea of a refresh only plan. Kind of what that meant. But it would be interesting to see if you could, start getting, here's what needs to change in your Terraform file to now make the drift now match the configuration. That'd be kind of cool too. Go the opposite direction. So when you do some click ops, it'd be great and say, hey, here's the things you could change, and here's a snippet you could paste into your file and make that happen. That'd be super helpful, especially for people trying to learn Terraform. It'd be a nice segue for that as well.
I think I want in the future, like just assume, I want an assumption that everything in the account is run by that Terraform plan. And then you can actually delete stuff also that people created that wasn't created by the plan.
Yeah, that is one of the annoying things about Terraform is if it wasn't created by the Terraform to begin with, there's no way for it to just capture everything and put it into the state or delete everything that doesn't match the state. They didn't really have that capability.
It's just delete everything that doesn't match the state. That's what I want.
I
can't wait.
That wouldn't be too difficult to do, actually.
No.
Because all you do is you scan the account for resources, and if the resource doesn't exist in the state, you add it to the state, but then the Terraform document itself doesn't contain an object that reflects that component of the state, and so it would be deleted.
I volunteer all my engineers' sandbox accounts to be an alpha tester of that feature.
The one challenge I think with a third-party tool, is that Terraform or HashiCorp really gets kind of weirded out when you start trying to monkey with the state file raw. So you need to figure out a way to be able to ingest that in through the module the way they would like it. But it could be cool. It would be really interesting to see.
I think the other big warning or danger sign would be that like if you remove things from the configuration, that the other things that remain in the configuration are dependent on. So it can get really funky with dependencies and stuff like that. Like if you accidentally remove the VPC configuration and it auto remediated to remove that VPC, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the whole Launchpad thing
is
not managed by Terraform.
I'm a big picture guy.
Well, again, I think you kind of get into. You could also do confidence, right? Like my remediate. How much confidence do you have in this remediation versus ones maybe then you could have it on a score basis. So you only remediate things you're highly confident in being remediatable. So the other big announcement out of HashiConf EU was Boundary is now available to you in beta on the HashiCorp Cloud platform. Of course, Boundary builds on top of the power and flexibility to provide a single, fully managed cloud-based workflow to securely connect to remote hosts and critical systems across cloud service catalogs, on-premise infrastructure, and Kubernetes without needing to manage any of the underlying systems or operations. Boundary is the first solution of its kind to automate the onboarding of users and targets to streamline remote access with integration with IDPS and service catalogs. So if you're into the zero trust access and you've been waiting for Boundary to be a SaaS service, you're now set. So I actually might play with it because every time I thought about using the open source tool, I've just lost interest after reading the docs, just because it's a lot to do.
It's funny because I've removed a lot of the need for direct access to machines, and so I've lost interest too, just mostly because I just build immutable now for everything at least in my personal sandboxes.
Yeah, well, all those people who like to build data centers in the sky, they need solutions like this. And one thing that's really kind of missing, I think, for any use case I would have from a security side is that it doesn't really log actions when you go through Boundary. If a proxy would actually log, screenshots of RDP and or command line stuff, I think that'd be really great. And then I could use that as a solution for that problem. But maybe that's on the roadmap. I don't know. I haven't talked to HashiCorp in a while. I don't know what really their long-term vision for HTTP Boundary is. If it's just going to be something really designed for engineers, or is it going to be something that's really going to meet compliance needs as well?
It applies to access to services, not just systems, though. So,
True.
although access to systems will probably go away with the mutual infrastructure, I think access to services and the zero trust, whatever, forgot what I was going to say.
No, that's it though. Yeah, access to systems, like all those apps that historically were on the enterprise network and passed security compliance checks on the condition that you first had to get on the network in order to access them, now goes away, right? Because, okay, well, what if there's someone on the internal network? Now those things are super exposed. There's no authentication. There's plain text authentication, and you always skate it by saying, well, yeah, but you have to be on the VPN first before you can get to that app. And that zero trust model, just get rid of the enterprise network, get rid of VPNs, right? That's the goal. Just be able to trust the public network by not trusting the public network, as dumb as that sounds.
All right, well, let's move on to AWS. And Remars was this week or last week. So there was some ML stuff we had to talk about. So I apologize now in advance for all of our hosts who love ML so much. The first up is the SageMaker Ground Truth, now supporting synthetic data generation. This is for synthetic image data specifically. Building ML models is an iterative process that, at a high level, starts with data collection and preparation, followed by model training and model deployments. Combining your real data with synthetic data helps to create more complete training datasets for ML models, and synthetic data is created by simple rules, statistical models, computer simulations, or other techniques. Which then, I was glad that you gave an actual example of how you might use this, because I had no freaking idea. But apparently, if you're thinking about a production floor where you're trying to use machine learning or computer vision to detect defects in objects, you would need to, of course, teach the model all those defects. And so to teach the model, you need photos of the things that are defective. And so for some things, you may be very common, but others are actually very difficult to generate or require certain machinery to be broken, or things that would be expensive to actually fix just to generate a single photo. So by using the synthetics, you can now create, basically using statistics and math and simulations, all kinds of different failure scenarios that you can then load into the model. And this overall will lower the cost of your training and the time-consuming nature of manual labeling operations for your computer vision models. So that's what the whole point of this is, which is super nerdy, but kind of cool.
It is cool, because one of the problems with training ML models is that if you don't have enough data, the output of that model is something that's very specific to the input training set. And so if you have, if you only had 10 examples of widgets that were bad, then the ML model will be very good at spotting those very specific examples of things that were bad, but it wouldn't be able to generalize in any way. So by having the ability to inject sort of non-normal edge cases, even if they weren't real, it helps the model be more generalized and more applicable to real world scenarios. And yeah, I mean, if your manufacturing error rate's only 1 in 1,000 anyway, it's going to be really hard to get enough data to actually train a model. So you have to fake it to make it.
Doesn't it totally feel like the definition of circular reference, though?
I think that's true. But I think that's how all perception works. You don't know what something is until you've seen it, and then once you've seen it, you recognize it later. I think it's a normal part of, like, even how people function, let alone computers.
Like a vaccine, kind of like a vaccine, right? Some fake information that your immune system works on so that you get it up to speed.
Maybe.
Not really. You're like, no, totally not. But I'm not allowed to say no to the main sponsor of the show. So
the new host has Trump rights tonight. That's how it works.
Oh my God! Don't ever use that term.
It is just kind of interesting to see machine learning. Now it's generating its own training data. Like,
yeah, it is.
What do you know? I was right. I knew I was right. I told you.
Yeah, it's just turtles all the way down, right? It's just synthetic turtles and real turtles. And that's how you get to where we're at. Yeah, I mean, again, like I wish I had more to do in this space, because I think it's really cool. I don't get enough of that to do. Well, your co-hosts here are all cloud whisperers, but now we could be code whisperers with the new ML Power Coding Companion, which was also announced at Remars last week. And just to give you kind of some context on this, the blog post author walked through some of the history of code editors, from the utilitarian days of VI and Emacs and key punch cards, in basic capabilities, to the fact that they then added in with increased CPU lexical assistance, dynamic completions, linting, syntax helping, and snippets, all through things like Visual Studio and IntelliSense. And overall, the goal at the end of the day is to make developers write better code while reducing routine and repetitive work. Amazon has done some work in this area already with Code Guru, but Code Guru has the issue that you need to actually commit your code before it scans it. And this is actually a real AI pair programmer for you, similar to GitHub Copilot. With the Code Whisperer trained on billions of lines of code and powered by ML, Code Whisperer has the same goal to make you more productive. Launching in preview with support for multiple IDE and languages, you can simply install the proper AWS IDE toolkit, enable the Code Whisperer feature, enter your preview access code, and get to typing. The Code Whisperer will continually examine your code and comments and present you with syntactically correct recommendations, and the recommendations are synthesized based on your coding style and variable names and are not simply just snippets. Code Whisperer uses multiple contextual clues to drive those recommendations, including your cursor location, the code that precedes the cursor, comments, and code in other files of the same project. You can use the recommendations as is, or you can enhance and customize them as needed. And the preview supports Python, Java, and JavaScript using Visual Studio Code, IntelliJ, PyCharm, WebStorm, and AWS Cloud 9. Apparently, it's coming to the AWS Lambda console as well, with support in the works, and should be ready very, very soon. And no mention of cost at this point, but during the preview, you can use it for free. So get advantage of all of your coding help now before they charge you an arm and a leg for this capability in the future. TechCrunch asked the question that all of us are asking, which is, are you just copying GitHub Copilot? And Vazi Philomin, Amazon VP in charge of AI, said, no. Code Guru and DevOps Guru set the foundation that we started many, many years ago to get to the point of being able to release a solution like Code Whisperer. Interesting, one of the things that's different about this product versus the Copilot is that it does look at where the code comes from. And if the code snippet is similar to an existing snippet in an open source project, it'll actually highlight the license of that particular function or snippet, so allowing you the choice to then use it or not use it based on if you accept that license term.
Yeah, so not only are they training their own machine learning models, but they're also generating code. Not concerned at all.
No. See, everyone's been joking about no code and thinking about GUIs and drag and drop stuff in the interface, and we have joked before on the show about saying things like, "Hey Alexa, write me some code that does this," and tools like this are literally turning into that level of skill, if I can call it skill for a machine. But it will take comments that you've written. This function is supposed to take this image, resize it to this particular size, and save it to a folder, and it will give you a function that does exactly that.
It's crazy. And even in the screenshots of the blog post, they show a comment. And the comment just see if a number is prime, and literally has a button that says insert code, and it literally inserts the code that will check if your number is prime. Like, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then that just becomes the code. It's just a higher level of abstraction, right? Write that sentence in a text document, and then run it through an interpreter that knows what it means.
So I don't know if this is, I mean, the nice thing about this versus no code is that it's not an abstraction, right? No code is an abstraction where you don't really see what's working. What this is doing is just auto-generating that code. So it's still code in the end, just like a developer wrote it.
Well, the input was abstracted, and then you get the next layer down, which you can then modify and tailor and customize, and probably a lot more maintainable at that point and customizable.
I mean, all they've done is figured out that we're all just going to Google, searching for things and looking at basic Stack Overflow.
Maybe that's what it's doing.
They just automated that part. Yeah.
I'm just surprised Stack Exchange didn't do this first.
Yeah, really.
That was always the thought I thought about Copilot, too. I was like, Stack Exchange should have done this.
Yeah. I've never heard anything about Copilot in terms of code quality checking on the data that they use to train their model, whereas we know that Code Guru has been around for a few years, and they've built out that functionality before they've delivered the functionality that writes code for you. So I would assume this is very tightly integrated with Code Guru, and quality is, I would expect, significantly better than Copilot.
I mean, I know that your code and Ryan's code contributed to Code Guru, so I'm unsure about that statement.
To be fair, my code also contributed to Copilot too, so it's you're screwed either way.
You do tend to learn more from mistakes than successes, so I'll take the contribution.
One thing I thought was interesting is that, as it said, is it writes the code that it matches your style, which is kind of creepy. So, like, it's one thing because you typically catch a snippet and you're copy pasting and like looks like a sore thumb because it's like it doesn't even look at the way I would write that code. But the fact that it actually matches up to your style is kind of creepy, a little bit.
Well, I can't wait to test this. If it starts swearing in the comments of the code, then I know we should be scared.
Yeah. Well, if it were mimicking Ryan, not our Ryan here, but the Foghorn Ryan's code, then it would just be infinitely nested loops. All code.
But going back to Peter's point a few minutes ago, it's not much of a stretch to think that you could write the document in English. You just write it as comments and say, this is what I want it to do. And it never shows you the code that it generates. It just generates it and builds. And you provide the test cases, and then you test the test cases against the code that was built. You don't ever have to see the code.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I like it. I don't want to see the code. Nobody wants to see the code.
Exactly.
You know how frustrating it is to look at code? I'm sure you all do. And you know exactly what it's supposed to do, and you click the button, and it doesn't do it. It's infuriating.
I mean, that's the existence of my coding. Like, I wrote the code. It does exactly what I want to do. Then, compile error.
Well, no. Usually the problem is that it does exactly what I told it to do.
Well, that happens sometimes too. Yeah, I don't want you to do what I actually told you to do. I need to do the thing I wanted you to do.
Yeah,
exactly.
Hey everyone, Jonathan here. I just wanted to take a minute to thank the cloud consulting gurus at Foghorn for helping make the Cloud Pod possible. These folks truly get it. Cloud consulting experts since 2008, they are premier tier partners with AWS, Google Cloud Platform Silver, and Microsoft Azure partners. From multi-cloud to containers to moving full production workloads to the cloud under the tightest compliance, Foghorn's team of full-stack cloud engineers have been there, done that, gotten the t-shirt, and are ready to share their experience with you. If you're in the market for some talent to supplement your team, visit www.fogops.io/thecloudpod. www.fogops.io/thecloudpod. Foghorn, the promise of cloud delivered.
All right. Well, if you are using AWS API endpoints and you apparently have not updated your SDK, CLI, or JDK environments since 2014, you may be in trouble. As Amazon has announced that they will end support for TLS 1.0 and 1.1 in all of their systems starting June 28th, 2023. That means that you will now need to use TLS 1.2 or TLS 1.3. And they have provided mitigations in the past for TLS 1.0 and 1.1 issues. But overall, they're tired of explaining to customers how they try to always negotiate the higher level, and they just want those turned off. And so they're now going to turn off that in the APIs to no longer have to answer all those RFP questions from customers and get yelled at by them for not turning off ciphers they don't want. So if you are in trouble with this, you have a year to get there, as it's the 29th. So you have exactly 364 days. Good luck to you.
Does anybody want to take my bet? I'll take the over on that. I will bet that Amazon extends this deadline.
I don't know. They said that in the article, they said 95% of AWS customers today are already using TLS 1.2. So it's only about 5% of their entire population of API calls is not compliant. I don't know. That's a pretty low percentage for them to extend. If it was bigger,
I'm in. And $10. $10. Who wants to take it?
I'll take it.
I think I'll take it.
No,
2 beers.
Yeah, I'll take it. We all taking
okay.
it? $10 each? Okay.
Okay, how about this?
No, going back. Come on.
2 beers each is more than $10. 2 beers each is more than $10. 2 beers each at my local pub near my place in San Francisco.
I like it.
Done.
And we'll all hang out and talk about the fact that all these customers got their act together and Amazon stuck to their guns.
No.
Hopefully.
Not going to happen. No. 2014 is 9 years ago. Think about how much technology's changed in 9 years. I think a lot of the constraints around the use of TLS-1 are going to be devices which are manufactured. It could be cameras. It could be any kind of IoT device that's been out in the wild for however long, and they don't have the ability to update it. And maybe it doesn't have the hardware capabilities to do elliptic curve encryption for TLS 1.3. Maybe it requires a customer to actually log into the thing and say firmware update, but they have no way of knowing who their customers are. So, 9 years is a long time. By the time they expire, TLS 1, 9 years is a very long time for any consumer electronic device. So I'm going to say they're not going to extend it.
I'm going to be happy to buy both of you beers. I hope they don't have to.
Yeah.
Hopefully not. I mean, last year we talked about the new Amazon, mainframe movement process to help you move your mainframes you've been running since the 1980s to AWS. So 9 years is short in some contexts.
Banks still can't turn off their systems that run their passbook savings accounts, run off of paper passbooks. Just digest that for a minute.
Yeah,
they can, but they're not willing to take.
They're not willing to.
The time.
Right, yeah, you can. You definitely can. They don't.
They don't know. I mean, you think about like some satellites. Like the longest satellite that was in space was Landsat. It was orbiting for 29 years, taking pictures and sending them down to Earth. Technology 29 years ago, definitely not capable of TLS 1.3 encryption. Technology that we launched today, sure, we can do remote updates. We have SSDs. We have much more simple ways of remotely managing hardware than we did back then. I mean, back then you burned an EEPROM and that was the code, and maybe you've got a spare one. I don't know. It's things are a lot more dynamic than they used to be.
It's true.
But this is about what it used to be like, not about what it's like now.
I think it'll be disruptive. I just think it won't be a high enough volume that they'll exchange it, because being part of a couple of these programs.
Yeah, I mean, other than industrial applications, I think the big risk is IoT devices that you sold to the consumer market, and they're going to say, well, force obsolescence, you need to upgrade anyways. So,
and they have the numbers.
Okay, so double or nothing on the bet. Double or nothing on the bet would be listen, this is going to be great. If they turn it off, you guys win the first round, which is the beers. And then if a name brand has an outage because they turn it off, I win. And then we're even. But if not, then you win a beer and a shot.
I like it.
Yeah, I'll take it just for fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, what would be nice is if they could just turn off TLS 1 for new customers, not old customers. But at the point that negotiation happens, what do you do?
Yeah, it's too late.
Yeah. I mean, and they're talking about their APIs, right? So how do they turn it off for new customers versus old customers without issuing whole new endpoints? So I get why they're not doing that, because that's their typical other way of doing this. Is net new things can't have the old thing, but old things can still have it.
Yeah, I would imagine there'll be some effort to go through customers' CloudTrail logs to figure out who's using what still, and reaching out to them and doing whatever they can to mitigate these problems before they become problems.
Yep. Well, apparently at Remars, we found out that Snowcones are in space.
What?
A recent NASA certification allows the use of Snowcones with a small modification on the wrapping of the exterior in a protective yellow film to go to space. The Snowcone device that went to space ran an ML algorithm to review, catalog, and identify objects in large-scale photos taken during experiments conducted by Axiom, which is the company that brought to space, eliminating the need to transfer data to Earth and back, reducing an 18-hour process to just 20 minutes. This is the first time AWS has put a general-purpose cloud computing device into orbit, and this is done with a stock Snowcone with minimal modifications. But they do say AWS could pursue this market more heavily and make optimizations to weight and durability in the future. This is something that they're going to do a lot of, but kind of cool. But apparently they have non-general purpose computing in space already, per this article, because this is the first general purpose, but custom stuff for Amazon's already in space. Apparently, that's how I read it.
That's an interesting pickup on the language there. I didn't get that when I read the article, but I think it's neat. I mean, it just shows that a lot of these consumer grade stuff that we're using is, it makes a lot of sense. And that's, when, connectivity and our access to the internet, when you don't have that, a lot of them fall down. But here are the solutions to those types of problems. Let's go.
That is really surprising.
I just think about a sci-fi book I read about, Earth getting taken out when the moon broke up, and they had a space station, and then all the computing they were doing a space station. I'm like, oh yeah, they just put ML in space. That's all they need to do. So perfect. Got it.
Seven Eves. It's one of my favorite books.
7 Eves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, it would be interesting if Amazon launched satellites with general compute on, and then the round trip time from the space ISS to a satellite someplace and back will be shortened to Earth, probably higher bandwidth. But I don't know. I think it's somebody spent a lot of money on getting this thing into orbit and working on this project for this press release. It's nothing special.
Compute at
Really.
the edge. It's just the edge is
I mean,
really far out there.
It is the edge, but it's inside an environment which is designed to be safe for people to live in, just like all the other things that we have, all the other appliances we have in our homes. It's not like it's particularly ruggedized for the the elements or anything else. It's a snow cone in a rubber case.
What? Who put it in orbit?
Axiom is the name of the company.
Axiom,
the first private space flight to the International Space Station by Axiom. They're the ones who took it up there.
Okay. I thought maybe it was a Blue Origin thing.
No, I mean IBM ThinkPads have been on the space station. I think they're the only laptop on the space station since the space station was launched.
Mhm.
So that's that's old technology.
So the for the space, snow cones and space movie, Jonathan gives it 2 thumbs down.
It's gone from suck to blow.
Oh yeah. Such a great movie.
Well, if you are an Amazon customer who's bought an EKS since the early days, you know that the initial launch, their goal was to simplify the management of EKS and at a mean level. So they basically just figured out what the average customer needed, and that was the control plane you would get. And then when you ran out of capacity in your control plane, you then had to open a support case, and they'd manually scale that up for you. And then they added auto scaling, and everyone thought, everything's good, except for the fact that it took 50 minutes to auto scale the API server. And that was due to a lot of different areas. And so Amazon's now pleased to tell you that they brought it down 4x to 10 minutes, which is still 9 minutes too long. But the latest improvements to the backplane were driven by multiple AWS teams, and they've done things like parallelizing the updates to the API server and etcd. Previously, they would only increase API server once etcd had been scaled, which is prudent based on my experience with etcd. And they apparently felt the same way, as they said that was due to caution. But now they feel they can do both without risking availability. They now have blue-green style updates for the API server, so they can spin up the new thing, get it ready to go, and then flip over, which seems logical. They reduced the etcd instance warm-up time. They speeded up the API instance bootstrapping process, and adjustments to the quotas per service and burst rates were all made. In addition, this allows them to now do blue-green style updates for the API servers and nodes versus a rolling replacement. This makes upgrading to new EKS versions even faster, and this will allow future EKS updates to benefit from those changes in the future. They do expect to now be able to increase the number of worker nodes to 15,000 worker nodes and over 450,000 pods with these improvements eventually. Not today, but eventually.
That is a lot of step function workflows behind the scenes. I can only imagine.
Is it all just step function? Oh my god!
I mean, just from what I know from managing Kubernetes and getting that API up to date and scaling it out, and because that's a lot of what it is. It's just a lot of moving parts that you have to coordinate. So it's workflow. And so I think that when they first announced it took 50 minutes. I'm like, yeah, sounds about right. So now that they're doing 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, they're probably doing something more like blue green. So they have the config more in a warm standby state, which is sort of crazy when you think about it. But it's neat.
So are there only 15,000 worker nodes in all of EKS?
Well, per cluster backbone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be a lot of EKS.
You know what else would cut the time down by 30 minutes? It is asking for the update 30 minutes sooner.
Sure.
Yeah, that's the real reason they put this out there, is that the EKS API for the service, not the Kubernetes API.
Yeah.
Like, stop asking if it's ready yet.
Well, then, if you've ever had to enable VPN tunnels over a direct connect that you've paid for, you may have been surprised to find out that you required a public IP address to do such a thing, which is sort of defeats the purpose of having a private point-to-point link in the first place. And so finally, now, many years later, since I complained about this, you can now enable site-to-site VPNs over Direct Connect using a private IP address. Customers can encrypt DX traffic between on-premise and AWS without the need for a public IP address, enhancing your security and your networking privacy.
Can you imagine, waiting 10 years for this?
Pretty much, I did
We
it.
waited 6 years for it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, how could this take that long? Yeah.
Yeah, I waited long enough to where I just moved away from this model entirely.
No, just a private IP, not a pub, just a private IP. No, sorry. No.
Yeah. I mean, it's on the other end of this connection that you know about, because I had to declare all of my IP ranges into the configuration of the Direct Connect. So you already knew about it. It shouldn't be so hard.
The nice thing about public IP spaces, though, is that you can fail over very easily. DirectX is not direct text. It's being maintained or is down for some reason, you can fail over to the internet route. If you use private IP space, then you have no backup path. So I mean, choose wisely.
Well, I mean, if you had 2 direct connects with 2 different private IP addresses, couldn't you solve that problem?
It depends if they both go down for maintenance at the same time in the same region, I guess.
Well, that's why I go with 2 different vendors and 2 different POPs. I can solve this problem
Where the public
with money.
With money, okay, fair enough.
Well, you still have
But
to
were
do
the
that.
public endpoints of the
Yeah.
VPNs available over the public direct, like your direct connect to public services?
Well, you could limit them, right? You could say only these endpoints could talk to it to establish a VPN tunnel.
You can still
but then
use your direct connect with public IPs.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could. And you can still do
Yeah.
it that way if you want to. You just don't have to now.
You just couldn't do private IPs.
Correct.
Which meant, however, your internal network was probably set up. It's like, yeah, but that it's just so much easier based on how we set up our firewalls and everything if they're private IPs.
Correct.
Yeah. Just give the people what they want.
Meet me where I'm at, which is I want private.
Mhm.
Said it 10 years ago.
Even better will be direct connect being encrypted natively end to end between the appliance in the rack and Amazon's region,
Who would want that?
and then you wouldn't even have to worry about doing that.
I mean, people getting direct connect don't want private.
Yeah. I mean, many moons ago,
Maybe they do.
they told me that we would get MACsec support, which never
Yes.
came. So,
No,
AWS
it came eventually.
did it come eventually?
It's-
Okay.
they have that now, but it was
Yeah.
way late. Yeah,
Way later than they
what
said
we
it was
were
going to be.
expecting.
Yeah, I see March 31st. Okay. Yeah. It was after I stopped caring. All right, moving on to Google. Anthos is now generally available for on-premise workloads via the Google Distributed Cloud Solution. GDC, of course, is their answer to Azure Stack and AWS Outposts. Google Anthos on-premise is an on-premise version of Google Cloud Anthos, a hybrid app dev platform that runs on top of Kubernetes, which I questioned that description, but that's what they said. It's designed for building applications that can run unmodified on any cloud or data center server, and Anthos on-premise is now included in the Google Distributed Cloud portfolio. It'll be now known as Google Distributed Cloud Virtual, or GDC Virtual. It is a software-only extension, and you can use it to run your own VMs on vSphere or bare metal boxes.
That is really neat because that's one of the biggest detractors I've seen from adopting something like Outpost or the Azure solution is just how much tie-in there is into the physical hardware and the support model of that physical hardware. Like it's really can be tricky in highly secure environments or just not very well designed environments. So this is great that you can run it on your own virtual platform for your choice.
Yeah. If you're concerned about that hardware lock-in, I have a story for you later. Let me tell you. We'll get to that a little bit in the show notes here.
So not really the lock-in aspect.
Okay.
It's more along the lines of like if you have a whole bunch of stuff.
And how tied into the backplane it is. Yeah, I have a story for you. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
Later in the show.
I see.
Oh, I see.
Well, I think when we ranted once about mobile apps for cloud providers, we said how stupid it was that none of them had pricing. And apparently a Google Cloud Product Manager listens to the show because I now have billing info in my Cloud Console mobile app for Google.
Nice.
All available to you now for Android and iOS. You can access not only some of your resources, logs, incidents, and errors, but also your billing information to know that it's now costing you $100 million a day. Perfect.
Yeah.
This is for all those executives that only want to take their iPads to meetings.
Yeah, exactly. Where do you think I use this app at? On my iPad in a meeting.
Yeah. Yep.
How much is that service costing? I don't know. Let me grab my iPad. Now I can tell them.
Yeah.
But they probably still can't.
Probably not. I mean,
Well, people aren't tagging it correctly. And
right.
I don't know what that is. Oh, I'm not sure.
I can tell you that I have not really used the mobile app, so I don't even know if I can switch projects properly to even be able to go to the right project to see what I need to see. So yeah, who knows? So maybe I'll do that next week.
Someone has this problem. I just don't know who they are. Yeah.
All right. Well, if you are using Cloud Armor for your edge security policies, it now supports new edge security policies and proxy load balancers. Cloud Armor, or the DDoS WAF solution for Google, is launching 2 new major capabilities this week. The new edge security policies for Cloud CDN, Media CDN, and Cloud Storage, and filter requests before they are served from the cache, which I would have thought it was how it worked before, but apparently it did not. Hit the cache, then hit the WAF. Cloud Armor now also supports the TCP proxy and SSL proxy load balancers to help block malicious traffic attempting to reach backends behind those load balancers. And customers can now use these proxy endpoints to leverage Google load balancing to serve TCP-based workloads that don't support HTTP protocol, or for customers who want to handle their own SSL TLS offload downstream or when required for mutual TLS. With Cloud Armor, you can now deploy this capability for workloads running anywhere, on-premise, Colo, Google Cloud, or other cloud platforms, which I added there because I just learned this today, but I could use Cloud Armor with any cloud. You can do this with AWS with CloudFront, but you'd have to go to a resource in CloudFront first. You can't go to just the WAF directly to my on-prem side. You had to go through CloudFront first. So this is a nice thing I didn't know about GCP I learned today. So there you go.
That's kind of neat because I didn't know that either.
Yeah. So instead of going and buying, your WAF from, Akamai, you can now use Google and have the same solution both sides when you move from GCP from on-prem. That's just kind of nice.
And I bet it's cheaper on Google.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure there's data transfer costs for egress traffic going from Cloud Armor to your on-premise data center. But hey, meet me where I'm at. And if I didn't excite you with those Cloud Armor features, they had a second announcement for Cloud Armor features this week, including rate limiting, adaptive protection, and bot defense. The per-client rate limiting with 2 new rules for throttle and rate-based banning. The bot management, which now forces a bot to be challenged with a recapture enterprise challenge. And machine learning adaptive protection to help counter advanced Layer 7 attacks. And because that wasn't enough, they also gave you 2 new preview features, which includes an updated pre-configured WAF rule based on CRS 3.3 and network-based threat intelligence to help block known bad traffic from entering your network.
All things we want.
Yep.
I think. I don't see anything that we don't want.
Yeah, exactly. All these things we want. And considering how much I dislike AWS WAF and how draconian it is in some of its things, this almost makes me want to try Google Cloud more for my personal project, which is the CloudPod website. So maybe that'll end up on Google one day. I haven't quite got there yet. But starting to become more on my radar than it ever was before.
Multi-cloud.
Yeah, multi-cloud, the CloudPod website. Yeah, we could do that.
We'll move it to Kubernetes and then we can serve it from either. So
yeah, we could do it. It's containerized. We could totally do that. The database is the problem, though, really, with the CloudPod, because it needs it's WordPress. It needs a database on the back end, which is kind of the hassle. Well, then our last Google story is new sustainability offerings to help public sector agencies improve. And technically, these are used by anybody, but they targeted public sector because they leverage GIS quite a bit, which is the location geospatial data. The first one is the Climate Insights for Natural Resources. Leveraging geospatial data and climate insights for natural resources can help you determine the risks of extreme heat, wildfires, floods, and drought around the globe. Drawing on GE's data catalog of more than 900 open data sets spanning over 40 years and leveraging the expertise of Climate Engine to provide departments and agencies with an efficient way to ingest, process, and deliver pre-built Earth observation insights via API in decision-making contexts. So hopefully, people like PG&E here in California are using this to figure out where the wildfires are coming from and stop those. And then the second part of this is Climate Insights for Infrastructure, which allows them to understand and anticipate climate risk to the built environment is a challenge for any org managing infrastructure. Not only is it necessary to have up-to-date insights regarding climate risks, but also current climate data needs to be combined with infrastructure data to assess risk and prioritize investment. So this is, hey, that bridge is in a flood zone that will eventually undermine that bridge. Those are the data things they can now get. The Climate Insights for Infra make GIS data easy to access, analyze, and share through a unified solution, building on top of the GEE dataset, GCP, and Carto. These insights enable planners, policy analysts, and operations staff and executives across data for their decision-making through intuitive and easy location intelligence platform, all while leveraging the cleanest cloud in the industry.
So they have a new insurance company as a customer, right?
Right?
Should I build my data center here? No, you should not.
Well, you could there, but we're going to charge you a lot of money per year in fees. That's how it's going to work. And then Azure is our, here, but they only had one story, and that is that Azure Orbital Ground Station as a service is now extending the life and reducing costs of satellite operators. And it's in space, Azure in space. So yay, that's all I have for Azure. I can't give you more excitement about it. It was a slow week for Azure.
Well, I guess now there's competition for Amazon's existing service. Then I suppose there's pressure in terms of costs, but you think if you launch satellite, you would already have the existing infrastructure to communicate with that thing. So
I don't think
Who
that
knows?
was maybe if that stuff's starting to get retired or needs to be replaced because it's apparently runs a 2014 or prior version of TLS. You need a new option to connect to those satellite dishes, and so that's why you need that. And then our story of all stories for the day is an Oracle story. The Oracle dedicated region, which is a complete cloud solution in your data center, is now 40% cheaper and much smaller footprint required for you. For all those who want to give OCI all the monies for OCI in your data center, you can now do that with OCI dedicated region solution, which will allow you to run their workload on premises for data residency requirements, low latency app performance, and infra modernization. Now, you might say, well, Outposts and Stack and all those other things, that is true. Those all exist. But the Oracle one gives you every single cloud offering from them available in this particular solution. So anything you want from Oracle that they sell on OCI, you can get in your data center through the Oracle dedicated region. Now, the Oracle dedicated region is their solution to satisfy several customer requirements, including a complete cloud region in a customer's own data center, offering the agility, scalability, and economics of OCI while retaining data and service control. Now, remember that economic part of that, because we'll get to that in a second. Dedicated region architecture like OCI is designed to maintain hardware and software density requirements to implement 3 independent fault domains. So you're already hearing a lot of infrastructure. Supporting multiple dedicated regions, creating a private dedicated cloud realm. If you don't want just a region, you have a realm. And engineers have security controls at all levels and increase flexibility in how they install and expand their infrastructure, giving customers the ability to quickly scale and scale rapidly as OCI manages all their capacity. So this apparently existed previously, but only for customers who were special. And you had to have a minimum order of 50 racks of equipment for $6 million a year on a 4-year commitment. But now, because it's 70% smaller, you can only get 12 racks for a $1 million annually per 4-year minimum commitment. And I'm sure that's just for the hardware. I'm sure there's also additional charges for other things as well. But if you're interested in spending $6 million to $1 million on Oracle OCI infrastructure for your data center, they got your back this week.
So it's $120,000 per rack per year.
That's correct.
That's about the same price as Outpost, though. Isn't it about $10K a month for a rack?
Yeah, but you only need 1 rack for Outposts versus 12.
Well, that's fair. I will give Oracle some credit, though. Some credit. And say it's awesome that you can run their entire stack wherever you like.
That is cool. And now you know how they open
cool.
regions so quickly because they just need 12 racks or 50 racks.
Well, we joked about the garage before.
Yeah,
literally.
I could fit 12 in my garage. I could do it.
I think it's a stretch to call them regions. I kind of wonder if they will advertise them as, we've got 359 regions now. Some of them are private, right. But some of them are public.
Well, I wonder if it's like that offering that we have from AWS where they were offering you the Banks network as a cloud service through AWS. I think it was some weird thing like, so Oracle region powered by, blah company in Omaha. That's how you get this new region.
I'm curious now if you loaded that thing up with workloads for the year, and then instead of doing that, ran that exact same set of workloads in the Oracle Cloud, what would the cost be there? And if the costs are like pretty much identical, are they basically just saying we're just going to let you pay for your own data center and charge you the same amount, or is there a significant discount?
I don't think it's a discount. I think it's going to cost you more, but you're paying more for the privilege or for the for the features of whatever your data security requirements are.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it doesn't include your Oracle licenses, your Windows licenses, Oracle Linux licenses. I mean, I'm sure just like in the case of AWS, like, I pay for the Outpost, then you also pay for the storage usage, you also pay for the MySQL usage. You pay for all the managed services you're running on top of the hardware, because that's how Oracle's going to make their money back on OCI. that's the future.
Yeah, I mean, the advantage is they don't have quite the same suite of services as GCP or AWS, so it's probably much easier for them to deliver this as a service. But I don't think the other cloud providers are going to be far behind in offering many more services locally.
But they are far behind because the other cloud service providers do not have the next generation cloud.
Well, that's true. That's true. I keep forgetting that.
The marketing, yeah.
Sorry, Larry.
Cloud 2.0, yeah. Well, that is it for another fantastic week in the cloud, and we are going to lightning round hosted by Peter. Finally,
yay!
All right.
What has happened since I've been gone? Have you just been holding off, or have people been scoring points?
We have not been scoring points. So we were getting to the point where we were trying to crowdsource points. So like last week's episode, we actually put a poll onto the CloudPod Slack team so they could reward us points because we were getting concerned that if you didn't come back soon, they were not going to be able to take me out. So that was the concern. And so we were trying to crowdsource, but you've done a return, so maybe we don't have to do that now. Maybe we'll do it too, just to see if they agree with you, Peter, just to double check you.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, we're 9 points in as far as points awarded, which puts us really effectively the first week of March in terms of the last time we got scored, and we're halfway through the year. So yeah, we need to maybe
is good though. Plenty of time to catch up now.
Can I propose maybe double points from here on out, just to make up for the?
How about this? Triple points. Here's what we're gonna do. Single points if Justin wins, double points if Jonathan wins, and triple points if Ryan wins.
Nice.
Or maybe you should do like a stacked ranking kind of thing where you give the best comment. Obviously my comment 3 points, and then second and first place 2 and 1.
Sounds complicated. I can barely get like half the time. I have my mind set, and then we're finishing up, and I'm reading all the other ones, and I totally forgot who won. And I'm like, oh no! Frantically going back reading, trying to remember which one I liked. Yeah. Let's not overcomplicate it for Peter.
There's only 4 this week though, so you should be okay.
Yeah. Okay, Here we go. 4 items. Let's start with AWS support announces an improved create case experience.
Which is that case is automatically resolving my incident before. How is this going to be improved?
Yes.
I was thinking that this is just their way of trying to optimize people from not submitting stuff as Sub 1. So they're just moving that down the list. That's the new improvement.
The only case I want is a brief case.
Oh, a brief one. Nice.
Oh, I see what he did there.
See what he did there?
Yeah.
I did see it, yeah.
Yeah.
Now in public preview. God knows why, but you can create an additional 5,000 Azure storage accounts within your subscription.
Which account did I put that file again? Is it that one? No, it's this one. No, it's that one over there. That's the future conversation from now on about storage.
Yes, this is called bad architecture as a service.
Yes,
indeed.
Yes, not well architected. Poorly architected. You have architected poorly. Moving on, Amazon has a plan to make Alexa mimic anyone's voice.
Hey, Alexa, make sure Peter gives me the point this week on the CloudPod, will you? Thanks.
This was our real plan for scoring. We're just going to configure.
Peter's not really here. He's not back. This is
all we need is a minute. Just have him join this week. All we need is a minute of his voice. We could feed it in, and we could fire him after that.
Actually, I don't need you to do that because I have 171 episodes of your voice.
Oh, you do. You do. That you do.
Including all the outtakes.
Yes.
Now I have the early outtakes.
Yeah, those are the bad ones. You don't want those.
Those are the bad ones. Dude, the early. I would be happier if people could hear the recent outtakes rather than the early intakes.
I think we really don't have any outtakes anymore, honestly. We are confident enough and we speak clearly enough and we don't like we used to. And I think we're immensely better than we used to be. So outtakes are by special request at this point.
Our editor's just gotten better. That's all. We still say and all the time. The editor just cuts it out.
Thanks, Elliot.
Yeah.
All right. AWS Fargate now fully supports multi-line logging powered by AWS for FluentBit.
Product manager saying, how do I increase revenue of Fargate? I make these tasks run longer, writing out log files. Perfect.
Conspiracy theory. I like it.
What? You didn't want your, Java, thread dump to be, individually separated logging statements. Now it could be one big one.
Well, it would just truncate after the first, 100 characters. You're like, what did you see, Java dump? I don't know.
Well, that was wonderful. Very brief, which helps us get our point today with a brief case.
Nice.
Jonathan!
Excellent. Thank you.
Well
Thank you.
done.
I'm
Well done.
only 2 points behind Justin now.
Yeah.
Nice.
You can make it. You can come back. It's possible.
Yeah.
I did feel that Alexa mimic joke was good though. I'll put it out there. But it makes fun of Peter, so why doesn't get any points? But I still liked it, so it was there.
Yeah, it was basically just trying to save my job. I wasn't even thinking that was going to count as a funny comment.
Well, we all thought it was fun. Never mind. Sorry.
We all.
You're like, no, it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny at all. It was.
All right. Well, things are coming up once again in the cloud. This week, while we're recording, is Reinforce, and I've heard nothing, so I assume nothing's happened there so far because no one's complained about anything. But next week or 2 weeks away actually is Black Hat USA for those of you who like to buy a laptop, take it to a conference, and then throw it away. And then VMworld is coming up at the end of August, and then Google Cloud Next coming up fast, October 11th through the 13th. I will definitely be at that one, I know for sure. And then Oracle Open World, Cloud World now will be October 16th through the 20th, and much more coming later in the year we'll cover later. But another busy week in the cloud. I'm sure we'll have lots to talk about next week, maybe from Reinforce, maybe not. We will see, and have another fantastic week in the cloud. Nice to have you back, Peter.
Thank you. Nice to be back. Great to talk to all y'all.
See you later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
And that is the Week in Cloud. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Foghorn Consulting. Subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts and tweet us your feedback at #TheCloudPod. Or join our Slack channel, go to our website, thecloudpod.net for sign-up instructions.